Hello and welcome. This is a short video on talking about some of the highlighted areas in biology that a Christian is concerned about in the new science standards. The biology standards start on page 34. And some of the difficulty that we see has to do with this fourth standard. If we look at part B, we're talking about analyzing and interpreting data to develop models, okay, or trees, based on patterns of common ancestry and evolution to determine relationships among major groups of organisms. Well, we know that there are variations within a biblical kind. That is not always the same thing as a species, but there is some relationship among dogs, for example. But this wording leads us to think that the idea of evolution to determine relationships among major groups could be understood as macroevolution, or the descent from apes to mankind, and we would need to be concerned about how that is understood. Probably the most concern we have is with this SB 6 standard. Let's look at the title: Obtain, Evaluate, and Communicate Information Related to the Theory of Evolution. If you have been following this work, you know that the previous document, the Next Generation Science Standards, had a lot of presentation of evolution as a fact of science. And this wording is different. And it was because people were concerned about this that the wording has changed. So I'm sure there's a message for that in us. But anyway, let's look at A. Construct an explanation of how new understandings of the age of the earth, the emergence of new species from pre-existing species, and our understanding of genetics have influenced our understanding of biology. Well, certainly we know that genetics has influenced our understanding. The concern that we have here is the emergence of new species from pre-existing species. Of course, there's two types of evolution people understand: macroevolution and microevolution. Macroevolution is understood to be change from one complete type of animal to another. For example, the major classifications from monkey to a man, or from a amphibian to an amphibian from a fish, and so forth. Those were major changes, and macroevolution is understood to be a part of that process. However, microevolution, we all understand changes happen within kind. Human beings get taller. There are changes, and that has to do with how the creature interacts with the environment. So the important thing that we need to remember here is that we need to express our concern that new species from pre-existing species is something we need to ask about, something we need to show our concern about. Part B, analyze and interpret data to explain patterns in biodiversity that result from speciation, macroevolution. Now this B does sound like it's presenting amoeba to ape to man type evolution, and we would be concerned about that. So now notice it says analyze and interpret data. So it is asking the person to analyze that, and that's a good thing. But it needs to be understood that it's not assumed macroevolution happened here. Again, we need to be asking some good questions. And then C has to do with construct an argument to support the claim that evidence from comparative morphology, embryology, biochemistry, and genetics support the theory that all living organisms are related by common descent. Now, evolutionists can camp out on this standard right here. However, we need to understand that the genetic code is a code. It is a message from an intelligent source, and there would be common instructions for common body types and so forth. But the concern that we have here are related by ways of common descent. In other words, the amoeba turning into the ape cannot be traced through just a genetic code. That has to be read into the genetic code. So again, the Christian should be aware of this and understand that there's a lot of evolutionary studies going on in embryology. Of course, the concern is that all of this science is looked at through the frame or through the lenses or glasses of Darwinian evolution. And then the last here, E, develop a model to explain the role evolution plays in causing biological resistance, for example, pesticides, antibiotic resistance, and influenza vaccines. This particular area is a source of confusion, but is very easily understood by those that spend a little bit of time looking into this matter. Yes, you can have an antibiotic that is resistant to a certain problem in the human. It's not because the concern, the bacteria or virus, it's not because it's become a new bacteria or virus. It usually is because it has denigrated, it's lost all the information. So that is not showing that the virus has grown in its ability to resist. It's just showing that some of the virus has developed resistance because of a lack of genetic information. So the jury is not out on this being a proof of evidence of evolution. As a matter of fact, the opposite is true. This is something you're encouraged to look at. This is just a short overlook at some of the areas of concern we have with the biology curriculum in the new standards. But let me say that this is a stark difference from what was first proposed. So with knowledgeable and multiple Christian people providing some concern, this would be something that would help those decision makers to be careful about the wording presented to the new standards. I hope this little video helped you out.